For a century, their stunning quality has launched a crucial new chapter in the story of the Titanic.
What you found is absolutely inexplicable.
Tantalizing details inside the images have triggered an expert investigation.
Look at this anomaly in the hull.
Wow, this is completely new.
And uncovered a crisis unfolding below decks as the Titanic set sail that spiraled out of control and drove the ship to disaster.
They gambled.
Yes. After a century of speculation,
It's amazing.
the full story behind the sinking of the Titanic can now be told. When the Titanic was completed in 1912, she wasn't just the biggest ship afloat. She was the largest man-made object on Earth. Over 880 feet long and 100 feet tall, she could carry 3,500 passengers.
Titanic passengers can travel in style.
Marketed by her owners as a state-of-the-art supership and practically unsinkable. On the spacious upper decks, mahogany-lined rooms awaited those traveling first class. Crowding onto the lower decks, third-class passengers dreamed of a new life in America. Titanic was a wonder of her world.
This is the footprint of those mighty vessels. The length of 4 city blocks, you see it here. And when you look around this dock, you still can imagine that the waterline was the height of this dock.
Forged here in Belfast, Northern Ireland, as an invincible symbol of British industry, Titanic became instead the byword for catastrophe.
And it's extraordinary even now, a century later, to think that something this big, this massive, could sink in the middle of the North Atlantic.
Irish journalist Senan Maloney has spent 30 years researching the disaster. He believes the real story goes much deeper than an iceberg strike.
There were aspects of this amazing saga that have never been adequately explained. Why was she going so fast when she had been warned repeatedly about an ice field in her path? Why did she not slow down? Why did she not divert? Wider questions about why she was an unsinkable ship that managed to sink in a few hours.
The Titanic was meant to have been built to survive a disaster like a collision at sea. And initially, after the iceberg strike, it looked like her design would keep her afloat well into the next day. The ship's naval architect, Thomas Andrews, was aboard. And after inspecting the damage,
Ladies and gentlemen,
he was confident the ship's internal structure would keep the water at bay.
she will not sink.
But just 2 hours later, the ship inexplicably plunged beneath the waves. Did the iceberg alone cause the disaster? Or was there another culprit? The answers were surely lost with the ship. Or so everyone thought. Now, an album of photographs that lay undiscovered in an attic for over 100 years has come to light. An album that charts the Titanic's brief life. This remarkable collection of images, shown here for the first time on television, were taken by the Titanic's chief electrical engineer, John Kempster. And using a brand new graphic process, the 2D images of the Titanic now be brought to full color, three-dimensional life.
Wow. The detail is exquisite.
The album was found at an auction house by Maloney's longtime collaborator and fellow Titanic expert, Steve Raffield. The new cache of photographs offer a rare glimpse of the ship's origins in Belfast, Northern Ireland, before it was unveiled to the world. Photographer John Kempster's job gave him privileged access to the vessel.
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, this is the Titanic equivalent of King Tutankhamun's tomb, isn't it? Then your launch pictures, of course, are absolutely one of the jewels of the entire collection.
The photographs capture the moment the Titanic was launched into the water in a stunning sequence of images.
And I love it that he puts an annotation on each photograph, going, gone.
Using the living stills technique, we can see the launch as it appeared to the photographer at the time. But these photographs don't just capture a unique moment in time. They reveal something else.
I kept turning the pages, and I wasn't really quite prepared for what I was about to see, because as I turned to this section, I spotted what I thought was a very strange mark on Titanic's hull, and it's just there.
Wow.
And it struck me as being very odd. I thought possibly it could be a reflection from the water, but on looking at the photograph in more detail, I realised it couldn't be, because the next photograph following on from there shows the same diagonal black mark, but the ship is at a different angle. She's moved.
This is a crucial thing.
In these two photographs, the camera angle and position has changed significantly. But the mysterious mark, over 30 feet long, is still there.
What you found is absolutely inexplicable. We were looking at the exact area where the iceberg struck, and we appeared to have a weakness or damage to the hull in that specific place before she even left Belfast.
If the Titanic had been weakened in the very region where it would be struck by an iceberg, it could rewrite history. But what could explain the mark? The photographs reminded Maloney of a fact generally known only to Titanic historians. When the ship set sail, there was a fire on board.
It instantaneously jumped into my mind that we had a fire in this location before she even left Belfast.
The fire took hold in a coal bunker in Boiler Room 6, and the room was directly behind the place where the dark mark begins.
The question is, once he knew he was approaching iceberg.
The fire was mentioned in the official inquiry in 1912. Surviving crew members revealed the blaze when they were questioned on the witness stand.
Was there anything wrong?
Yes. The bunker was afire.
But the presiding Lord Commissioner dismissed the fire as a factor in the sinking.
Now, how is this relevant to this inquiry?
The new photographic evidence sends Maloney to the accounts given by eyewitnesses on board. One description in particular, reported just days after the disaster in a newspaper, catches his eye.
I found an article by John Dilly, a fireman, who wasn't brought before the bench in London. He actually was speaking at the quayside to a journalist, and he said that, unlike an irrelevancy, the Titanic fire was very, very important.
What was your work on the Titanic?
My sole duty was to fight the flames together with 11 other firemen.
John Dilly was one of the team of firemen and stokers working in the Titanic's boiler rooms. Dilly describes a serious fire in one of the ship's huge coal storage bunkers. It was discovered the day the Titanic prepared to leave Belfast for Southampton and begin her maiden voyage. The procedure for coal bunker fires was to dig out the burning coal before the fire spread. But the Titanic was the biggest ship ever built. Her coal bunkers were 3 stories high.
We had made no headway against it. Some of the toughest stokers I've worked were getting worried.
So the fire's not out.
No, sir. It's getting worse as a flame.
Did the passengers know?
No.
You are not to talk to the passengers about this, or anyone!
Aye, sir.
And so when did you get the fire out?
We never. From the day we sailed, the Titanic was on fire.
Sponsorem programu